Welcome to another episode of Erik Wait Whiskey Studies, and in this video we're going to look at Manzanilla and Manzanilla Sherry Cask Finished Whiskies. So this is part of a series I'm doing on sherry and sherry cask finished whiskies. So we're going to look at a bottle of Manzanilla, and we're going to look at the Tomatin 12-year-old Manzanilla Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. Manzanilla is a variety of Fino sherry made around the port of Sanlúcar de Barrameda in the province of Cadiz, Andalusia, Spain. Manzanilla is made from Palomino grapes grown on Albariza, a unique soil made up primarily of limestone rich in calcium carbonate. Sanlúcar de Barrameda's cool temperatures and high humidity contribute to a higher yield of floor yeast than in Jerez or El Puerto de Santa Maria. The thicker cap of floor better protects the wine from contact with the air, resulting in a fresher, more delicate flavor than other varieties of Fino. The sherry is produced using the same methods as a Fino sherry from Jerez and results in a very pale, dry wine. It is often described as having a salty flavor, believed to develop from its being manufactured on the sea estuary of the Guadalquivir River. It is typically aged for 5 years in a Solera, but some types may be aged longer. Osborne Manzanilla Fina. The bodega was founded in 1772 by the young English entrepreneur Thomas Osborne Mann. It is one of the oldest firms of wine and spirits in Spain. The wine is estimated to be aged between 3 and 4 years old. It is bottled at 15% alcohol by volume and sells for about $14. As you can see, it's sort of a light golden straw in color. It's very shiny, very bright. On the nose, medium plus intensity of. I actually get a little bit of lemon on this one. I hadn't picked that up before on any of the Fino sherries. Do get a little bit of that nutty character, but also get some dried fruit notes, some dried apples, a little bit of dried pear, maybe a little bit of apricot. There's that definite, just key marker, that salty character. Maybe a little bit of peach or peach skin, and definitely get a little bit of that almond marzipan character. On the palate, So in comparison to the Tío Pepe and the Don Barreño Fino, this is fresher in fruit, but it does have those dry fruit characteristics as well. It's sort of like a pear or an apple that you've had on the counter and it's just starting to oxidize. Get a little bit of that. I get some lemon. It has a little bit of a tartness there. It's a little bit of apricot. It's crisp. Even though it's at 15% alcohol by volume, so full-bodied, it doesn't come across as heavy or weighty on the palate. I think it's got some real nice acidity to it. On the back end, I get those almond marzipan characteristics. And so it starts off sort of fruity up front and then goes dry and nutty on the back end. This is a really affordable wine. I really like it. In fact, I almost finished the bottle before doing my review. It's all the way down here at the end. Very affordable and goes really well with chicken, fish, seafood, anything with sort of a briny characteristic to it. So if you have some sort of maybe Greek food or Middle Eastern cuisine that maybe has some olives and stuff like that in it, this works really well. So I really wasn't expecting this. The purpose of this wasn't to try to convert you into being a sherry lover or a wine drinker, but rather just see the correlation between the wine casks and the whiskeys. But one of the things for me is in doing this study is this has really revived in me a love for sherry wines. But of course the most important thing is, for the purpose of our study, is how do these characteristics of this wine carry over into the whiskey. The Tomatin 12 Cuatro Manzanilla Highland single malt Scotch Whisky is part of a series of 4 unique limited expressions of Tomatin, each double matured in different types of sherry casks. The whiskey was matured for 9 years in traditional American oak casks and was then transferred to a first fill Manzanilla sherry butt for the final 3 years. It is a limited release of 1,500 bottles. It's bottled at 46% alcohol by volume and sells for anywhere between $60 and $80. So I am really falling in love with Tomatin Distillery. I actually visited the distillery back in 2019, but I'm actually having more interaction, with the whiskeys now, part of this series, than I did back then. And one of the things I really like about them is, as they're sort of known, is that they are a gentler dram or a softer approach. So not necessarily from lowering the ABV, it's just texturally, there's something about them that just makes them really silky, sort of have a nice coating mouthfeel. On the nose, I'm definitely getting the characteristics that you get from a Manzanilla. And color-wise, it definitely has a color of a Manzanilla, although perhaps a little bit darker, as it is spending some time in bourbon casks. But I'm getting the sort of dried apple, dried pear, a little bit of a stone fruit character. But I'm also getting those dry nutty notes, a little bit of honey, caramels, and there's just a hint of that saltiness. But there's also this sort of rich, buttery sauce character that reminds me a lot of the Redbreast 12. On the palate, sweet up front, it sort of goes dry in the back end. Get a lot of those dried fruit notes, dried pear, dried apple, but there's a sweet character of like honey, caramels, that buttery sauce, but it all comes across with this silky, full-bodied, mouth-coating character that reminds me a lot of an Irish whiskey. So on the back end, get a lot of the dry character, that nuttiness, that marzipan, almonds. But there's also something that reminds me of the interior part of a candy bar that has, a lot of nuts in it, maybe a little bit of a peanut butter cookie. So texturally, it is silky, mouth coating, and feels full-bodied. It has a real nice mouthfeel from beginning into the middle and into the finish. So I like the development. It starts off nice fruit character, dried fruit notes, then it's really, really, really sweet, and then it goes dry towards the back end with some nice nutty notes. And it has a real nice long finish. This is a whiskey I would describe as being dangerously delicious. It does really, really well on ice. It doesn't lose like a whole lot of flavor, even though you've dropped the temperature. And you could just very easily keep sipping, keep sipping, keep sipping, keep sipping, because it is absolutely seductively delicious. So even though it's only at 46% alcohol by volume, this is a whiskey that is ready to go. Water isn't necessarily going to improve it. Ice doesn't hurt it. And it's easily going to be, you're going to want to grab it every time off the shelf and pour yourself a dram. So it has the mouthfeel, it has the development, it has the texture, it has the development of flavor, and it has a really nice long finish. So that salty, nutty character to it that lets you know, hey, this is a sherry cask whiskey. So what I'm going to give it in terms of a score, I'm going to go a solid 92 points. This is absolutely superb. I have 3 bottles of it. Really, really nice. Now, this isn't the only Manzanilla cask out there. There are some other whiskeys out there that you might want to check out. Other whiskeys aged in Manzanilla to check out include Ardbeg Islay Single Malt Scotch Whisky, Bullmore 18-year-old Manzanilla Cask Aged Islay Single Malt Scotch Whisky, Bunnahabhain Manzanilla Islay Single Malt Scotch Whisky, and the Kavalan Manzanilla Cask Strength Single Malt Whisky. So, I also reviewed a Tomatin 12 Fino Sherry Cask. Now, Manzanilla Fina and Fino Sherry, same grapes, same soils, same method of production. What's the difference? It's a matter of climate. It's how far they are from the ocean, and that's what's giving you the difference between a Manzanilla Fina and a Fino Sherry. So what is the difference between the Tomatin 12 Manzanilla and the Tomatin 12 Fino? We're going to find out in another video. I'm going to do a head-to-head between these two whiskeys to find out which one I like better. The primary difference is going to be the difference in climate between Manzanilla and Fino Sherry. All right, if you like these videos, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to keep watching this series and learn more about sherry and sherry cask finished whiskeys. And I want to thank all my Patreons for supporting this channel. Until next time, cheers. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.